Well, hello, welcome, and happy Friday to all of you out there. Thank you so much for joining today's live stream. Today, we're talking. How do I do? There it is. We're talking about some streaming news. This one right here is a follow up to this week's video, which I hope you saw and that you liked and you subscribe. Or well, maybe you're already subscribed if you're watching the live stream, but if you're not, you should be. So yeah, we're gonna get to that stuff in just a few moments. I also have a few other pieces of streaming news. I also have a camera that doesn't seem to want to uh, actually focus on my face now, and we'll also have some other things to talk about. We'll do some Q&A stuff. I'll chat with you guys about what's going on. But if you peek over my right shoulder, yeah, finally got my PS5. Which is going to be fun for video games, hopefully, if I ever get to play them. I've had it set up for like 3 days. I haven't even gotten to turn it on yet, honestly. I've barely gotten to turn it on. But I'm going to be doing something about the PS5 and streaming. So chamber some questions about that, okay? All right, so the other thing we need to do today, before we go any further, is announce a winner for our giveaway. So we've been collecting your entries for the $50 Amazon gift card. And today I finally get to announce who the winner is. So let me pull up that name here. The winner of the $50 Amazon gift card is Cruz Rodriguez. So hopefully Cruz is watching. If not, that's okay. We're going to email Cruz and let them know that that $50 Amazon gift card is all theirs. So yeah, we'll be in touch. So congratulations, Cruz Rodriguez. We're going to take a little bit of break from the giveaways. So I think the link is still in the description, if I'm not mistaken. You can still click on that. And I would bookmark that page because we're not done with giveaways necessarily. But yeah, we're going to take a little break from them right now. Okay, where is Craig? LOL. But I guess before we get into the streaming news of the day, I'm back at home in my studio. Oh, you know what? I only have half for our mood lighting today. Uh-oh, connection failed. No, we might not get. Oh, hey, okay. It looks like it's blue, kind of an indigo blue. How's that? How's that for mood lighting? We're looking good. So, all right. Hello to everybody. Let's get into some news before we do Q&A stuff, because I know sometimes when people watch these streams afterwards, they're like, "Hey, it took you 5 minutes to get to any of the news stuff." Well, this time it was only 3 minutes. So, hey. All right. Netflix cuts marketing staff after losing subscribers. So this one is kind of, I think it's breaking yesterday. Yeah. So not breaking today, but this came out of the LA Times yesterday. And there's not a ton of detail to go into on this. But it just says, it eliminated an undisclosed number of marketing related jobs. Let's see if I can blow that up a little bit for you. Let's see. So if you watched the video this week on Netflix, it was it was a rough week for Netflix, rough quarter, I guess. But yeah, let's see. They just lost 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter. They're expected to lose up to 2 million more in quarter two. So that's April through June. We'll see what happens there. Some of the laid off people said they worked on Tudum, a pop culture website that markets Netflix programs, which I never used. I never used Tudum. And so I didn't know that it was named after a sound that plays when a Netflix program starts. Tudum. Yeah, okay, whatever. So anyway, it's interesting that, to me, it's interesting that they're cutting marketing staff. This is often some of the first to go, because it takes obviously a lot of different types of employees to make a company like this go. So it's tough to say like, oh, well, this is more important than that, and that's more important than this, except sometimes it kind of is. Marketing is, and I say this as a marketer. Okay. So, so I'm not trying to spit on marketing or anything, but marketing is what you do when you've got a product or a service that you need to get to market. Marketing doesn't exist, and it can't exist without that product or service. And Netflix, so if Netflix is looking to cut costs, I don't know what all their other departments are, and I'm not going to say, hey, this is more important than that, except to say that, obviously they're not really going to cut like technical staff, the people that actually make their product go. Um, and so if they have to cut costs, I guess it makes sense to go to marketing before some of the other things. But on the other hand, um, a lot of critiques of Netflix, stuff that I get in the comments here on this channel, stuff I read on Twitter, or in op-eds or whatever, is that one of the common critiques of Netflix is that they don't do a great job marketing their programs. You don't see a lot of commercials for Netflix stuff outside of Netflix. Well, obviously you don't see commercials on Netflix at all, but you know what I mean? Like, you're not watching HBO Max and suddenly you see a commercial for a Netflix show. Not that there's none of that going on. It's just not a ton of it. They rely on word of mouth. They rely on, something like Tadum would be content marketing, where they create the content and then let that spread throughout the internet, and make that their marketing focus. And sometimes that's a great idea. Sometimes it's not. But it's odd that Netflix hasn't engaged in the traditional type of marketing that you see a lot of other companies do. And I compare Netflix to those companies because we're going to talk about a couple of those here in just a few moments. This is a good one. Yeah. David, I've heard this one for sure. 50% of all ad dollars are wasted. The problem is nobody knows which 50%. If I could get ad dollars that I have had to spend, if I could get 50% of them to be effective, oh boy, I'd be brushing my shoulders off, baby. That would be great. Sometimes I get the sense that it's a lot more than that, but it's like you said, it's hard to know where the percentages are located. All right. So Joel says Netflix is overpriced. Yes, that's true, says Morgan. Netflix is overpriced. It kind of is, and it kind of isn't. Like, they didn't just choose a price out of nowhere. I saw somebody's comment on my video. Maybe we should pull up that video. No, it's okay. I can pull it up later if we need to. But somebody's comment on that video was that, hey, Craig, you're forgetting the I think they called it the elephant in the room, or the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and that's corporate greed. And what they were trying to get at was they just kept jacking up their prices for no reason. And it's not for no reason. If Netflix could continue to offer their service for $8 a month, they would do that. But they felt the need to produce a ton of content over the last few years. And in producing that content, they racked up a ton of debt, and they have to pay for that debt. And that's why the subscription cost kept going up. So from their perspective, and I kind of talked about this in the video as well, they looked over their shoulder and they saw a bunch of streaming companies coming up behind them, a bunch of more traditional media companies. Take Warner Brothers and Disney. Let's just take those two. There's a lot more out there, obviously. But Warner Brothers is like, hey, we're going to start HBO Max. They already had some competition through the other AT&T services at the time, like DirecTV Now or whatever. But they say, hey, we're going to start at HBO Max, this kind of Netflix competitor. You got Disney, who's like, hey, Disney Plus is coming up. We're working on it. And, they start announcing these things a year or two out. And obviously you hear rumblings of it well before that. So Netflix is looking over their shoulder 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and they're like, oh, crap. All these traditional media companies are coming, and they are going to have their own streaming services, and we're licensing all their content. That's all of our good stuff. When they had The Office or Friends, when they would get some really cool movies, a few weeks after their theatrical release, they'd show up on Netflix. And this was Netflix's bread and butter for a long time, was licensing content. So they saw all these companies coming up, and they're like, I know, Warner Brothers is going to take all of their content, whatever we have on there, they're going to want for their own service. And so Netflix knew that in order to survive, they were going to need their own content that nobody could take away from them, that's what started the content creation blitz that Netflix went through. Where even this year they're spending $18 billion on content. Oh, it's just a mind blowing amount of money. So that's where that came from, because in order to survive, like they would probably be dead or dying now if they hadn't done that, right? So they wouldn't have any content left, at least nothing worth speaking of. So anyway, so is it overpriced from their perspective? No, they kind of had to do this in order to survive. From our perspective as customers, that's a little different. So that's where Joel can say it's overpriced, and I think it's fair. Where you can look at, hey, what do I have to watch? What do I care about? What am I interested in? And you've got Netflix that's saying, hey, it's going to be $15.50 a month for the HD package. I know there's a lower one, but I never count it. There's no way I'm going to watch SD on my big TV. It's not going to happen. So yeah, from our perspective, what do I want to watch? It's $15.50 a month for that, or I can pay $15 a month for HBO Max and get, frankly, higher quality movies and often higher quality TV as well. You get the entire HBO back catalog. You get a lot of new releases that are going down. So HBO Max is 50 cents less, and I would argue better content wise. Again, everybody's got their own personal taste, so that's not gospel or anything. Or you look at Disney Plus, even after they raised their price, $8 a month. Oh boy, $8 a month versus $15.50. That's almost twice the price. And if you like what Disney Plus is offering, kind of having access to that Disney library, the family-friendly stuff, the Star Wars stuff, the Marvel stuff, boy, they've got a lot to recommend themselves for almost half of what Netflix does, right? So in that case, I think, again, from a consumer perspective, Joel may be correct. That's going to be up to each individual person, whether it's overpriced. But I think from a business perspective, like they are where they were forced to be, right? So if that makes sense. Okay. Let's see. All right. So River Rat, I like that. Rumor has it they're going to add commercials. What does that mean to the subscribers who pay to not have ads? Hulu is also considering this. So let me see if I can decipher your question here. Hulu is also considering this. I mean, Hulu is already doing this, right? So what they're talking about, what Netflix is talking about, is adding a commercial supported tier for less, right? So you pay $15, $15.50 a month for the non-commercial supported Netflix, right? That's what we have now, right? There are no commercials. You've never seen a commercial on Netflix. Great. Except for, some embarrassing product placement shows. And then they're talking about adding an ad-supported tier, just like others do, right? So Hulu has theirs for, what is it, $12 and $6 a month? I need to double check my numbers there. It might be 12 and 7, whatever it is. So if you pay the lower amount, okay, great, you save a little money every month, but you are going to have to watch some commercials in order to access the content. Just about everybody's doing it these days. At least all the big ones. Well, no, I guess that's not fair. It's probably a pretty good split. But HBO Max is doing that as well. Who am I forgetting that's doing that? Is Paramount doing that? I think Paramount's doing that. Anyway, obviously Peacock does that. So Hulu's also considering this. Well, Hulu's already doing it. Okay, but now the other part of this question, what does that mean to the subscribers who pay to not have ads? Not much. If you hate ads and you refuse to watch ads and you're willing to stick with the current pricing model, then it's not going to mean much to you. Presumably, it'll just be, hey, you can keep the service as is, but you got to pay for it, or you can change to the new model. But it's a good question. Okay. William Mack calls it an addiction. The thing is that people that subscribe to Netflix really swear by Netflix. That's an addiction. Not necessarily. It's there's I think we have a tendency, and hey, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not talking about those kinds of addictions, but we tend to throw that word around a lot. Addicted to this, addicted to that, but really all it is a habit, right? An addiction it's a medical term, right? But it's a habit. Yeah, you have Netflix for a long time. So what we call an addiction here is it's a habit. I have a habit of turning on Netflix, of keeping my Netflix because of that FOMO. Like I've always had it. This has been my TV life in large measure for a long, long time. So I'm in the habit of it. But I think you're right in like in the spirit of it. Yeah, it kind of can be. We can treat it that way a little bit. Um, but where I diverge is, it's kind of like cable. We were all addicted to cable, 10 years ago or whatever it was. When I finally cut the cord, got rid of cable, I was like, what is my life going to look like? I don't know it's a scary world out there without cable, right? Um, and for like 2 or 3 days after that, I cut the cord, didn't have any more cable, no more live TV. For 2 or 3 days, I had some afternoons where I was like, so what am I supposed to do? What am I going to do? And then 2 or 3 days after, I was like, oh, this I don't miss this at all. My life is a little simpler. It's a little quieter. So I liked that transition. Some people might be finding that that's the case with Netflix now, where they were, again, I don't know about addicted to it, but they were used to it, right? It was their wagon wheels of life were in the rut of Netflix, right? And so when you finally break out of that, it can be scary. It can be, weird. Like, what am I going to do? But there's plenty out there, and you'll find that you may not miss it the way that you thought you would. So, let's see. We've got some pricing suggestions: $14.99 a month, so 50 cents off, or $5.50 off. All right. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. I feel blaming some of their lost subscribers on password sharing instead of raised prices. Such a weak take by Netflix. I think I don't know if they were blaming lost subscribers on password sharing so much as lost revenue, right? For a long time, their tactic, I guess, was to, or I guess, I don't know, strategy, tactic, I don't know where you want to put this one, but they would say, we're just not going to really worry about password sharers very much. They would wave in their direction every once in a while, but they didn't really do much about it. And they said, these people, these password sharers are still using Netflix. They're getting addicted, right? So they wanted to create that habit of, this is TV. Like when I turn on the TV, Netflix is TV. They want to create that. So even if you're sharing a password, you're still creating that kind of that loop, that rut in your mind. And so they didn't care about password sharing. And now that's just not the way it is anymore. With so much competition, with so much choice, the landscape is just so different now. So Netflix is not synonymous with TV the way that it was for a lot of people for a long time. And so they've also reached so many customers. What is it, 220 million paying subscribers right now? They've reached so many that it's not just the low-hanging fruit. Like, a lot of the fruit is gone, right? And so they've got to find a way to make some of that up and to continue growing. Password sharing is that. So if they have 30 million people who are sharing a password, then by their measure, they're like, hey, if we crack down on password sharing, it's not like we're going to get all of those, but that might be another 15 or 20 million subscribers that we could get just through, cracking down on password sharing. So, so Bill says you should be able to pay your internet bill and stream all the TV you want. That would be great. What does Austin Powers say? And I've on a toilet made out of solid gold, but that just ain't in the cards. Something like that. Like, we're gonna have to pay for our content one way or another. If something like this happened, then in order for content to be made, somebody has to pay for it, right? And so it would just mean that our internet bills would suddenly start peaking because they would be, they'd be working the content into your internet bill. So, all right. So sorry, I'm way behind on this. All right. Um, let's do another news story. Okay. So speaking of competition, let's go to these two stories. Okay. I thought this one was pretty cool. So good for Peacock. Peacock added 4 million subscribers in Q1, reaching 13 million paid subscribers, which honestly for Peacock, I feel like it's quite a bit. I wouldn't have expected 13 million people to pay for it with the free option out there. But yeah, this one, by the way, from Cord Cutters News. The next couple will be from Cord Cutters News. So thanks to those guys. Although I do have to say, I may need to find Jess Barnes on Twitter or something, because there's one thing that wasn't very clear in this, and I could go hunt down the numbers myself, but I haven't yet. So they said, okay, so it added. Let's blow this up a little more. Peacock announced. There we go. That's probably a good one. Added 4 million paid subscribers in the first quarter, bringing its total to over 13 million paid subs, along with 28 million monthly active accounts. So what I'm curious about is this wording makes it sound like there are 20 million unpaid active accounts, but then no, because 28 million monthly active accounts should include that. So I'm not sure, and I just need to go look it up. I've been a little too lazy. But anyway, point being, 13 million paid subscribers. For a service like Peacock that really markets its free tier heavily is pretty impressive. And then we go to this one. There we go. Discovery Plus reached 24 million subscribers before the merger with Warner Brothers. 24 million is, again, really impressive for something like Discovery Plus. Yeah, 24 million. And then we look at the combination. When combined with HBO and HBO Max subscribers, the combined Warner Brothers Discovery now has over 100 million subscribers globally. Which this is, now we're getting into a new top tier, right? Netflix. It used to be Netflix, Hulu, and Prime Video. And I'm talking, years ago. I'm not talking last week. But it used to be Netflix, Hulu, Prime Video, and now it's basically Netflix, Disney Plus, and HBO Max. Especially with this merger. So if HBO Max, I think last I checked was somewhere around 75 million or so. So yeah, this number makes sense to me. But yeah, we've got ourselves a new big three, don't we? At least in the US. Obviously, there are streaming services out there that are that are pretty big internationally, but here in the US, those are our big three. So yeah, we've got a field that's it's looking to me like it might be approaching saturation. If anybody has any other take on that, I'd be interested. But yeah, it looks like 24 million subscribers there, 13 million there. Obviously, Hulu's got a ton, Prime Video's got a ton, and Netflix, Disney Plus got a ton. So, yeah, that's just a lot of people streaming these days. Amazing. And we've talked about the numbers in previous streams about how many people have cut the cord from linear TV, how many people are doing streaming and all that stuff. Okay. Remember when Hulu was free and only on the computer? Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because I'm an old man. Okay. Peacock also noted that this level of growth should not be expected to continue. Yeah, and they were maybe a little more responsible with their messaging to investors than Netflix was, right? Netflix always painted a crazy rosy picture of where they expected to be. And that's why, let's see if I can find the chart that I found originally for oh yeah, it was the Motley Fool had this chart. This is what happens when you paint too rosy a picture. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Oh, I have to stop sharing that screen. and start sharing this screen. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll work now. There we go. All right. Yeah, this chart right here. Amazing. So this was Netflix's stock price. Um, let's see, going back a few years, but the relevant stuff is, people just thought, oh, there's Netflix is this unstoppable train, so I better hop on it. They peaked, $682 a share. Amazing. 91. Yeah. And then, over the next few months, it started to crash as other competitors were, rearing their heads as well. And then this is when the news dropped. Boom. Oh, gosh. So that's what happens when you paint too rosy a picture. So David pointing out that Peacock noted that this level of growth should not be expected to continue. It's like, well, at least thanks for being honest, right? So that's something. All right. So Baba says, put CNN in HBO. Well, they're way ahead of you. So if we look at what's going on, all right, where's my last news story of the day? Pour one out, everybody. CNN Plus is officially gone. This was yesterday. Okay, so CNN will shut down today. That was yesterday, 2 days ahead of schedule. So they didn't even make it to the end of April. And yeah, they sent out an email. There's really not much to it. If you signed up for CNN Plus, you're getting a refund. But let's see. Okay, so this is interesting. All right. This decision is in line with Warner Brothers Discovery's broader direct-to-consumer strategy. Okay. In a complex streaming market, consumers want simplicity and an all-in service, which provides a better experience and more value than standalone offerings. Oh boy, interesting. Okay, so let's see. Zaslav has been open in the recent past about his desire to combine all of the company's streaming video assets, which also include Discovery Plus and HBO Max, under a single umbrella. So there you go. Yeah, that's the end of that one. So what Baba Trolling is saying is, hey, they should combine those things, put them together. Well, they can now, and they will. I wonder how this will go. As I've said before, I kind of feel like there's always a war between consumers they want something cheap and they want something simple, and those things don't always necessarily go together. And so what we've been dealing with for the last 5 years or so is this atomization of streaming. There were the big ones, but you could also just have cable. And as cable is becoming less and less viable commercially, more and more people are going to streaming. And I don't know how many think pieces and angry tweets and whatnot that I saw that talked about how I'm paying just as much as I was before, because people just say, hey, there's a new streaming service, there's more TV, I'd better pay for it. And suddenly, they're saddled with $100 a month in streaming bills. And so that's where they want the simplicity of just having everything, right? But it's expensive to do that. Versus if you really want to save money, again, we talk about this on this channel all the time. If you want to save money, then you need to trim certain streaming services from your budget, or switch on and off, right? So this month we're watching a bunch of stuff on Hulu. Next month we're gonna binge a few things on Netflix or HBO Max or whatever, and then switch back and forth, right? So it's not simple, but it's cheap. And so what this guy has said, the incoming CNN CEO, says that consumers want simplicity and an all-in service. Maybe, maybe not. That's, of course, CEO speak for we want consumers, or we think consumers should want to have this. We want consumers to want this, and we hope they do, because that's what we're going to offer, right? So we'll see. But what that means is that, we've talked in the past already about HBO Max combining with Discovery Plus, where separately those are, excuse me, I think I'm going to sneeze. Separately, those are $15 a month for the non-commercial version, and $6 a month, right, for Discovery Plus, or $5 a month, I think it is still. And so is the new service going to be $20? Are they going to find some way to merge them where they keep the price down? And then they start Now they're talking about adding CNN Plus content into the mix. So they want to have a service that's going to have that, constant news feed, that's going to have the unscripted content that you get on the Discovery networks, this Discovery family of networks, I should say. And then the big, the beefier titles, the expensive, dramatic programming, scripted programming over on HBO Max. Put all that stuff together. That's not a cheap thing to run, and it's not going to be a cheap thing to subscribe to. So I don't know what they're going to do, but they will be putting. All indications are that they will be putting CNN into HBO. The question remains: how will they do that? How much will it cost? Et cetera, et cetera. All right. Let's see. David says the HBO name has been around since 1972. Don't think it's going anywhere soon. Well, maybe. How long was Sears around? Right. That's one that I always point to. Like Sears was like the way people talked about, or the way people talked about Walmart 25 years ago. That's how they talked about Sears. It was taking everything over, and it was this horrible thing. And then it just kind of like went away one day. Of course, that was bankruptcy. HBO doesn't have that problem at the moment. But anyway, just point being, things change. Don't expect that HBO will be around when you die. So, let's see. Sears Roebuck. That's right. It was Sears Roebuck going all the way back, like into the 19th century or close to it. Right. I actually don't know when they started it, but it seems like it was just older than old. I once worked with a guy who he worked in marketing for Sears, like right up at the bitter end. And it was, he told some interesting stories about what happened with Sears, what happened to Sears, and all that stuff. Okay. All right. Epix Gamer says, streaming consolidation makes absolute sense to me. Instead of paying for 3 at once, you pay for 1 and get it all in one. Yeah. I mean, that's what they're banking on, is that a lot of people will feel this way. I go back to 2014, 2015, when Sling TV was kind of just coming onto the scene, and it was becoming, if not super popular, like with millions upon millions of users, it was becoming noteworthy. It was growing. People were talking about it a lot. Sling TV, it's this thing where you get all your cable channels, but you don't have to, they called it a la carte TV. They eventually had to stop saying that, because it turns out that was complete baloney and it was not a la carte TV. But that was the promise. That was the tagline. The first live TV streamer was a la carte TV. That's what they were promising. And I think a lot of us still kind of hold out hope for that there's got to be some way for us to be able to just watch what we want and not have to pay for massive bundles. And that's what's going to happen with this Warner Brothers Discovery merger. Is they're promising, hey, we're gonna go back to the way things were. We're gonna combine everything, and like somebody else said, let's see, Tony said CNN will ruin HBO Max. I think a lot of people will feel that way. Kind of. The question is, will it ruin it enough? For those people to unsubscribe. If your HBO Max, if subscribing to HBO Max goes from 15 to say $25 a month, $25 a month sounds like a lot, but for some people, like Epix Gamer here, for some people it's like, hey, $25 a month, and I don't have to worry about, constantly switching between services. Sounds worth it to some people. To others, it's a betrayal of the promise of streaming. So it kind of just depends on where you come down personally, right? Let's see. Oh, JCPenney. Oh man, that's amazing. So I live out here in Utah, where we had ZCMI, the Zion something mercantilists. I can't remember exactly what but it was a department store out here in Utah for a long time. And there's a bug on my wall, and it really has my attention. Anyway, and ZCMI one day just like poof disappeared, and you just never know. Let's see. Donald asks, "What does password sharing mean?" This would be when it's when you share your password. So I have some friends out in Colorado that I go visit every once in a while. I usually leave on Fridays right after this stream, not today, but to go do a long drive out to Colorado. And I was staying with them at some point and said, "Hey, we should watch Ted Lasso." This is, I don't know, last summer maybe. So we should watch Ted Lasso together. And so I logged into my Apple TV Plus account on their TV and then didn't log out when I left. And so after I left, they watched some Apple TV Plus programming on my password. I shared my password with them. And you can argue about, whether that's okay or whether I should have remembered to log out, but that's what password sharing is. So they got access to that content without having to pay for it because I paid for it. And it can get, I think it can get out of control. But for the most part, it's usually pretty innocuous. It's like, hey, a kid goes off to college and they just, use their parents' password to watch Netflix when they're, at college or something like that. It's usually not like nefarious or something, but it is a loss for the company, right? So that's every month that my friends use my Apple TV Plus subscription, that's $5 that month that Apple didn't get for distributing their content, right? So it can be like I said, mostly kind of innocuous, certainly in intent, but the cumulative effect is a lot of lost money for those services, or potential lost money, I should say. Okay. I mean, I'm gonna get kicked out from Netflix, and they crack down from it. So what's happening is Netflix is they're toying with the idea of creating a password, or like a, how should I put it? Like a shared or a family account or profile. They're doing this in a few countries down in South America right now. They're piloting this program where, okay, so let's say you're the main account holder. You're paying $15 a month or whatever for Netflix. And right now you can just, kind of share that password with a few people. They can log in and use it. What Netflix is piloting is a program that says, all right, if you're sharing your password, and we can tell if you're sharing your password, then you can do that for up to 2 people and we'll give them a discounted rate. So right now I think it's like $3 a month or something like that, or $4 a month, whatever it was, for those subordinate accounts. So you have your main account and then a few like sub accounts under it that are cheaper and they come out of your bill, but other people can have their own profiles and use that. So that's what they're talking about doing. Let's see. You remember Kmart? Yes, I do. Absolutely. I think I have an appointment with the Marlins today. That's true. But yeah, we're not getting into sports right now. Although we could talk about sports with relation to streaming, because there are some issues there. Along that topic, scroll up. What am I scrolling up to? You'll have to tell me what. You'll have to just share it again, copy and paste it, because I don't know what I'm looking for. I can scroll up all day and see that a lot of people don't like CNN, but like I don't know what you're talking about, so you'll have to let me know. Okay. Okay, so is this what you're talking about, Fred? That would be a great video idea. Password sharing. How big of a problem is it? Can it be slowed? How to do it without upsetting your longtime subscriber base? You'd have to do your homework, but would be very interesting. Yeah, and that's so the I have some contacts at different streaming services and different companies and whatnot. Just after doing this for a few years, you build up a few contacts. Netflix has been it's like, yeah, I can talk to somebody, but all they ever send me is PR stuff, right? I've never had somebody that I could go to and just nudge them, and say, hey, off the record, can you tell me this, that, or the other? Nobody who can do that for me over at Netflix. And so I don't know, and there's no hard numbers, hard data on this necessarily. And so doing my homework would consist of kind of just like reading other people's estimates. But it's an interesting topic. Password sharing, how big of a problem is it? Do we classify it as a problem? I don't know. But yeah, you're right. It could be interesting. Okay. Kmart has 3 stores left. Sears still has 20 stores. Huh. How about that? I didn't realize that. That'd be interesting. Okay. Yeah, Frayden, you bet. I'm mind reading you. There we go. Okay. Where somebody said something. Okay. Tim says, let's see. If linear TV is going away, will there be channels of just news and sports on live streaming TV services, and all on demand will be on SVOD and AVOD? Okay. Let's see if I can decipher this. I got to wrap my mind around your question here, Tim. If linear TV is going away, and by linear TV, we're talking about kind of traditional live TV. So yes, cable and satellite, but also things like YouTube TV, Hulu Live, whatever. Will there be channels of just news and sports on live TV streaming services? And then all on demand will be on SVOD. I mean, that's kind of the way it's been going for a while. But will we end up there? I don't know. I think I'm going to be really interested, even though it does annoy me a little bit. Like, I don't want to have to pay for 24-hour news content on HBO Max. I like, I like it the way it is, right? I don't want to add a bunch of programming that I will never watch on HBO Max and have to pay for it, right? But I will be really interested to see what happens with CNN on, whatever they call the new streaming service eventually, because that could be a thing. I mean, it's already kind of a thing where you have these combination services. So if you log into, what did I just turn on the other day? I think it might have been Hulu, and Hulu had just a ton of hockey going on. And this isn't a knock against hockey. I just wasn't in the mood to watch hockey, but I had to scroll past the hockey to get to the stuff I wanted to watch. So it's already happening a little bit that this stuff is combining. So would we get channels of just news and sports? I don't think so. I sincerely wish that. I wish that ESPN came out or had come out with an app, not ESPN Plus, although that's along the lines of what I'm talking about. But if it had just been ESPN, the app, and you pay whatever, it could be a slightly absurd amount of money, $15-20 a month. But all of their content goes in there. So you can watch your live hockey, baseball, you can watch your Sports Center, you can watch your, whatever, the NBA playoffs, all in one place. That would be amazing, at least from a consumer perspective. And at least in a short-term win kind of way. But that's not the way it's going. What we have instead is, you have Disney, and you have NBC Universal, and you have, whoever else. They all want their piece of the pie. And so instead of sports all being in one place, you have all these different places competing to broadcast different sports. And so I think it's much more likely that you'll see more of what we're getting already on a place like Hulu, where, you just kind of have this mishmash of everything that is owned by that company. And so then Apple is doing this apparently, where, hey, we've got sports, we've got movies, we've got TV shows all in one place. Peacock, same thing. Whatever. Yeah, that's kind of more like what it looks like we're going to now. as opposed to where it might have looked like we were going a few years ago. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Peacock and MLB. It really is such a mess. There's so many places that are showing baseball because they all want their little cut. And MLB makes more money by divvying up the pie into teeny tiny little slices and giving everybody their share. They make more money that way. So it makes sense for them. But as long as I can watch most out of market games on MLB TV, I'm not going to raise too much of a ruckus. But if it gets out of control, yeah. Okay, sorry, I lost the thread again, you guys. I take so long, I start monologuing, and I just lose what you guys are talking about. Craig, do you buy the NFL Sunday ticket to Apple is a done deal that both are just keeping quiet for now? Or do you think that's a person or company that wants Apple to get it, trying to control the narrative? Control the narrative. The sources I've seen it from are pretty reliable. If they're keeping it back, they're doing it for a reason. They could just be, ironing out the final details. Maybe they haven't signed on the dotted line yet, but they know, like, yeah, it's a done deal. We just got to get the details done. So yeah, but that being said, so do I buy it? Yes, I do. I buy it that it's pretty much a done deal. However, there was a podcast I used to listen to, good Lord, 12, 13, 14 years ago. And it was about, what was it called? Whatever. It was about, effective interviewing and job searching. So, it was all about resumes and interviews and all that stuff. And it was really interesting. I was in college, right? So I needed to really get good at that stuff. So anyway, one of the things they talked about constantly throughout the interview process or the job hunt process is, until you've got something, you've got nothing. So do I buy that it's pretty much a done deal? Yeah, by all reports, it sure does look that way. But until you got something, you've got nothing. And so until they sign on the dotted line, make it public, tell everybody about it, I won't report it as fact until we know for sure, right? So we don't got something, so we got nothing. Let's see. Tony got his Roku Express, loves it. Good for you, Tony. MLB streaming is a hot mess. Yeah, minus the hot part. That's the thing about baseball, is it's never hot, right? Until you get to like September. Baseball is a very slow burn, if burn it is at all, right? What would my reaction be if Apple bought NFL Sunday Ticket? I mean, at this point, we've been hearing about it for so long that I'll probably shrug my shoulders and go, okay, finally. No, but but getting your to the spirit of your question, what would my reaction be? As long as the price doesn't go up egregiously, or maybe they offer it as an add-on for a reasonable price. Like I'd be totally fine with that. My thing is, I love Apple TV Plus. I really do. I think it's still, to this day, I think it's the most underrated streaming service out there. They have an Oscar, they have a bajillion Emmys. Like they're critically doing just fine. But I think it's what are they at? Like 25. I think they're at about 25 million paying subscribers. And then 50 million total. So the other 25 million being people who get it through a promotion, right? They buy a new device, they get Apple TV Plus. So I think those are roughly what the numbers are right now, but I'm open to correction. So I feel like at 25 million paid subscribers, it's still wildly underrated, and more people need to be watching it. Just because, again, and this is all total personal preference, right? I just love the kind of HBO style prestige TV programming. Sometimes it's movies, but usually it's TV. I love that stuff, and I think right now Apple TV Plus is doing HBO better than HBO is in that regard. So anyway, my point with that being that if Apple bought NFL Sunday Ticket, I would be thrilled that more people who might not otherwise sign up for Apple TV Plus will do so. So I have my thoughts and feelings about Apple as a company, as a whole, but Apple TV Plus, I feel unmitigated joy about. I really love their stuff. So, okay, somebody said, let's see. Frayden says, I finally got Roku 11 software update on my Roku TV. I haven't even looked at mine for 2 days. Okay, we're going to give this a try. Okay, I know you guys can't see this, but I'm going to go to my settings, system, and system update. Last checked yesterday. Let's check now. Checking for new software. Come on, baby. Aha! Hey, I get mine today too. Congratulations to me. Thanks for the heads up, Frayden. I've been waiting to do a video on this for a while, and now I finally can. Update now. Okay, that's going to work in the background. Hey, thanks for the heads up. That's fantastic. There's a lot of stuff coming with Roku OS 11 that I'm interested to see. The one that Roku, the folks over at Roku have been most excited to get me talking about, so we'll see how it goes, is the adaptive, what do they call it? Adaptive speech recognition. So it's, with Roku OS 11, supposedly it has this ability to recognize when someone is speaking and bump up their volume, and then, levels out and brings down the music or the gunfire or whatever. And they say it's so sophisticated that it can even tell if somebody is, like if you're watching a musical, they can tell when characters switch from speech to song. And adjust accordingly. So we'll see how that goes. There's a lot of little things like that. I don't think it's going to be a massive change aesthetically to Roku. At least I doubt it. It'll still look and smell and feel exactly the same way. But they've put a few more whirligigs in the software, which should be interesting. Let's see. Anything out there that caters to the college sports fan? Yeah, cable. How much would Apple TV charge for NFL's Sunday Ticket? How much would they charge? It would have to, honestly, it would probably have to be quite a bit. And this is why I hope it's an add-on. Like, if Apple TV Plus, if their monthly price just jumped by as much as it would need to, you'd have just an epic bunch of cancellations. So yeah, I bet that they would do an add-on, and I bet that it would be at a minimum, and I do mean a minimum of $25 a month. It could be twice that, right? Depending on what they have to pay for it. So we'll see. And hey, maybe they'll surprise me and just say, if you're a subscriber, you get NFL Sunday Ticket. That would be amazing, but unlikely, shall we say. Oh yeah, my Roku TV is it's currently restarting. So we'll have 11 here pretty soon. Yeah, had I known that, I would have hooked it up to my computer so I could share my screen with you guys and we could explore it. I'll tell you what, why don't we make that next week's live stream? We're going to explore Roku OS 11 together on the live stream here next week and check out some of its features. Okay. Okay. So this has been my experience too. If I let's see, I haven't read the whole thing yet. Say whatever you want about the commentators and GMs so far or games, but the baseball on Apple TV Plus looks absolutely amazing. I don't know how the heck they do it. Looks better than anything else I watch on my TV. Yeah, no, it has looked great. They do it by shelling out just a ton of money for people who have been doing it for a while, right? So they're not starting from scratch. Yeah, and I guarantee they're paying a lot of people a lot of money to make that look really good. So let's see. I'm almost surprised to see promo videos for MLB and Apple TV Plus when we watch Pachinko. Yeah, there you go. Let's see. When is Discovery and HBO Max combining? If they do, then it won't be for a while. They are talking that way. They're saying, hey, we have plans to combine the services together, but they haven't provided any firm dates. And my guess is part of the reason for that. Part of the reason is because you never know how long it's going to take to build an app, right? And to get it right. And so you don't want to promise, hey, this is coming on September 14th. And then when September 14th comes, it's like, yeah, we're at 60%. We need more time. Like that. They don't want to do that. They want to get a little further down the road to where they can see the finish line before they announce the finish line. So that's part of it. And also part of it is, hey, we want room to walk this back. Potentially. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but it's always smart when you're doing these PR announcements to not go too far in promising things, just in case they start putting together the new app and discovering that, you know what, like people actually don't want this. They do want it to stay separate. We're going to walk back our ideas on that. That could be the case. So we don't know until we get there. Okay, I'll take a few more questions, but I am going to start wrapping this up here pretty soon. Let's see. Sarah, let's see. Craig, I've been having a lot of issues with all three of my Rokus. I'm so sorry to hear that. You give them a call. I will say this. If you're having trouble, so I'm not your tech support guy, and I don't know what's happening and can't fix things for you. I did work in tech support and don't want to anymore. But I will say this. So I did the video on my Roku sound system. If you guys remember this was, a couple months ago where I kind of laid into Roku a little bit, and they gave me a call and they were like, that was incorrect information you got from the customer support agent. And so they said that, hey, we're going to have to start, doing some more training and whatnot. So who knows? Maybe their customer support is even better now. I did have a great experience talking with the woman on customer support at Roku. She was very pleasant and, seemed knowledgeable and helpful and all that stuff. It just turned out she's wrong. So maybe if they can combine the one with the correct information, then hey, all the better. But yeah, can't do your tech support, unfortunately. Let's see. Ben says you like the live interaction. Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you coming in to do this. This is one of the highlights of my week. I really enjoy doing these live streams. They're a lot of fun for me. I hope they're fun for all of you as well. At least for the next couple of minutes until we're done. So, Joel, I feel like you've been asking about this for a while. But no, I don't have any updates for you on ATSC 3.0. How old is my Roku? I've got a lot. I've got a lot of Rokus. Maybe you're talking to somebody else. So I have a Roku that's 6 years old, and I have one that's 6 weeks old. So let's see. Although I haven't pulled out the 6-year-old one for a while. So all right. Well, Riverette concurs, and so do I. Thank you all so much for joining today's live stream. Really appreciate you coming. Next week is going to be exploring Roku OS 11. Okay, so and I will say this, for those of you watching who are not Roku users, let's say you're a Fire TV user, Apple TV, whatever, you may still want to watch that. Because oftentimes when something new like Roku OS 11 comes out, it gives cues to all these other companies. Oh, here's a gap that we can fill. Some of the stuff in Roku OS 11 I know is Roku catching up to others, right? So yeah, the question will be how much of what we see on Roku OS 11 will bleed out eventually to other bleed over. That's maybe the better way to put it, over to other streaming services or streaming devices and operating systems. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. And I will see you next week. Same time. All right. Have a good week.